Overnight, cool night inland, 42 to 58, a little warmer near the lakeshore areas. Clear skies, perhaps. We've seen them last week or so. Maybe a little hint of the northern lights tonight too, if you want to check that out. Here's our hot shot. It's like they're sitting in class. Eric said this is in his yard in Mackinac City. A bunch of geese all kind of lined up in rows there. I don't know what they're watching or doing there, but taking a little rest there at Eric's yard. Thanks for that one, and thanks for joining us. Have a good evening. We'll see you back here tonight at 11.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to UpNorthLive Unscripted. I'm Allie Baxter. We're kicking things off tonight as we usually do with a little bit of weather. And Joe, it's kind of remained the same for almost the last 2 weeks now.
You sure you need me here tonight?
I don't think so. It's been kind of the same, not too active out there, right? We've even had the opportunity to see some like northern lights out there as well. So it's been pretty active as far as those go, but as far as systems moving in, not really, and we could use that, right? Yeah, we actually could use some rain. I mean, it's been a long stretch here. We're not going to get much tomorrow. Here's the thing, there is a chance tomorrow. Up in the UP, you might get a stray shower or thunderstorm. I think somebody's going to tomorrow, but that's it for rain. I mean, really through the upcoming weekend. And then next week, even then, not a lot, but we are gonna see a pretty big drop in temperature coming up. So we'll kind of get to practice for fall next week a little bit, maybe. Okay, we could use a little practice. It is October 2nd, so I feel like that's fair. Yeah, and then the only thing is, I'm going to show this a little later with the jet stream, but I do think we're going to warm up again the following weekend. So we'll look at all that, maybe that chance for a little rain tomorrow, and a whole lot more coming up later, Allie, in Maine weather. All right, well, thank you, Joe, for that preview. We're going to go ahead and move along to tonight's top story. An expansive project is underway in Sheboygan County for broadband internet, and that service will now be reaching more homes in the area. Burt Township officials hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony today for Spectrum to celebrate that expansion. Our Mary Jane Glenn was there to learn how residents could get better connection.
Through the FCC Rural Digital Opportunity Program and the Michigan Robin Broadband Grant Program, townships, houses, and businesses will have access to faster connection.
Spectrum's expansion in Sheboygan County positively impacts over 1,500 previously unserved homes and small businesses in 9 communities. So that's 1,500 addresses that can telecommute, take part in telehealth, which these days is so important. Distance learning, also very important.
Spectrum says that the goal of these grants is to improve the quality of life for those living in rural areas.
I remember the phone calls I get when we finally build out to somebody's house who doesn't have to drive to McDonald's to do their kids' homework anymore. That's a very real thing. It happens more than anybody knows.
This includes coverage for mobile devices in rural areas.
When they get Spectrum Mobile, they'll actually be able to use their mobile phone at home too. And not have to depend on the landline so much, which is a really neat opportunity for people who live in a more rural area. And everybody who comes over, their phones will tie to that spot too.
I think all of us went through the storm here this spring, and when we lost electricity, we lost a lot of things. Right behind that, really close, you know, when we lost internet service, we really see that impact. So economic development-wise, we heard today, people operate from their homes, goods and services. We can access anything in the world that we want to by broadband. You can work from home now. Telehealth is moving forward. Mental health advisement that you can just do from your living room.
In Sheboygan County, Mary Jane Glenn, UpNorthLive News.
And the story goes along with our question of the day. And that question is, how do you access internet service? Do you use dial-up, fiber line, satellite, or do you use a completely different method? Now you can vote using that QR code on your screen right now, and tell us why you use that specific way to access the internet. Munson Healthcare is moving forward with construction of a new neonatal critical care unit in Traverse City. The project is part of a $40 million investment in women's and children's services. Construction will begin this spring on a new 22,000 square foot building. It will become a 24-bed neonatal intensive care unit at Munson Medical Center. Construction is expected to take 18 months to complete, with an opening targeted for late 2027. Now, along with the neonatal unit, there will also be renovations to the maternity and pediatric units. And so now we're going to go ahead and bring in Brian Lawson. He is with Munson Healthcare. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into some questions. So originally, this project at least was unveiled in 2020. A global pandemic followed shortly after that. So how did that adjust or shift plans for the proposal?
Yeah, well, as an organization, we're always reassessing the needs of the community when it comes to the healthcare services that they need. So since the pandemic, our clinical leaders, as well as our administration, have put a lot of thought and work into the design of this project. And as we look at declining birth rates in the region, as we look at the needs for neonatal intensive care, and as we look at the shifting landscape from both a regulatory and an economic standpoint, this is where we landed in terms of a design. A new standalone 22,000 square foot NICU facility that will be connected to Munson Medical Center, and then also working on enhancements and upgrades to both the maternity unit as well as our pediatric unit.
So, Brian, we know that Munson has a lot of different healthcare facilities across northern Michigan, but are most of our maternity and pediatric services located at the Traverse City Center?
We do have maternity centers both in Gaylord and Cadillac in our regional hospitals, in addition to what we have here at Munson Medical Center. But the NICU is the only NICU in northern Michigan. So it plays a real key role in making sure that we can keep as many of the most vulnerable newborns that we have in the region and their families close to home, so they don't have to travel downstate to receive that care. And we really have an outstanding team of physicians, providers, and nurses within our NICU program.
And hopefully this proposal, this project, this expansion is going to help serve more families, right? Provide them that care. So like you just said, they don't have to go downstate to get it.
Yeah, correct. And we always see an ebb and flow, whether it's in maternity or in the NICU. And this space is going to provide us the room to care for a lot of patients. And even more than that, the way that the space is designed, the input that we've received from clinical leaders, it's going to have more space for privacy. It's going to have, greater comfort. And that's really important to this particular patient population because in many cases, you're looking at extended stays for both these babies and their families.
Well, Brian, it's like you kind of read my mind, because the next question that I had for you was, we've gone over the numbers for how many beds there will be, how big the center will be, but what's actually planned for inside the center? Anything new that you guys are excited about with this renovation?
Well, I don't have a ton of details for you right now. And that's, I would need a phone a friend to one of our clinical leaders to get into detail about that. But it will be outfitted with state-of-the-art equipment. And certainly as we get closer to groundbreaking in the spring, we're going to have more detailed information about that, as well as renderings of what the inside will look like. And we look forward to sharing that with the public.
And I don't know if we've gone over it yet, but where will the center be located within Munson Medical Center's campus?
So it will be located, I guess what you would call on the west side of campus. It'll be in between the hospital and Cowell Family Cancer Center. And then it will be directly connected to Munson Medical Center. So that's where it's going in. And I would just add that a project of this scope is simply not possible without the support of a community. And about a quarter of this project will be funded by our donors through donations. And that's true in any major project that we've taken on, whether it's Cowell Family Cancer Center, the Weber Heart Center, the Witham Family Comprehensive Stroke Center. Having these kind of resources in northern Michigan is crucial to the health of our region, but it simply would not be possible without the generosity of so many people who have donated, and that's certainly the case here with the new NICU that we'll be putting in.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us on Unscripted tonight, helping us dig a little deeper and find out what else is going to be a part of this neonatal unit.
Really appreciate you helping us celebrate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Brian. We're going to go ahead and move along now to another one of our top stories tonight. A northern Michigan man is on a mission to find answers and spread a message after he believes tribal remains were uncovered. It's in a place in Leelanau County that 150 years ago once was home to hundreds of Native Americans, but now a subdivision stands there. Tonight, he's hoping someone can fill in the unknown details so that the proper respect can be displayed. Mark Shillette reports.
Mankind owes that dignity to one another.
As an historian, gravestone restorer, and tribal member, Scott Schwander has a very special place in his heart for burial sites.
From where we sit within 100 miles, 150 miles, that we know are defined burial grounds or cemeteries. But what about the ones we don't know about? What about Sleeping Bear? What about the shores of Antrim County? Or even Wilderness State Park.
Or potentially much, much closer than that. Sitting here in Peterson Park near Northport, there may be one within a mile or two.
I suspect that the community here at that time was Medewan and that they were self-sufficient.
150 years ago, this now park was home to possibly hundreds of Native Americans.
They were as traditional as you could be. They were probably very in tune with the balance of the earth and its bounty.
They lived and died here.
I've always suspected that the burials were nearby, and never having any solid or infinite knowledge myself until recently when I was told that there were burials in the adjacent subdivision.
Earlier this year, Scott got tipped off about something discovered down the road.
I received some images from a friend of mine who was aware of the discovery of a couple of burials in an adjacent subdivision. And they were asking what should be done.
The images, which we can't show you, suggest that at least 2 burial sites were found nestled between homes.
I suppose since their identities will probably never be determined, I don't think that there is a big hurry to do anything.
He isn't suggesting anyone did anything wrong in this case, but does wish more was made public about what may have been found. He says the tribal members he's spoken with aren't aware of anything and hasn't had much luck getting answers from the usual sources.
If the burials are recognized and that they're known burials, I think that's half of the work, and the other half would be just public trust and knowledge that, yes, if there were 2 burials, it would stand to reason there were probably far more than just 2.
That was Mark Shillette reporting. Again, Scott isn't suggesting anyone did anything wrong in this case, but does stress with the number of possible unknown burial sites across northern Michigan, should anyone come in contact with something they just aren't sure about, stop and contact authorities so that the proper next steps can be taken. Moving over to Wexford County now, where experts say Cadillac is confronting a serious housing crisis with thousands of units needed. The City Planning Commission has approved the site plan for a major development intended to help close that gap. UpNorthLive's Tony Lundy has more on how this affects the region.
According to the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, Wexford County is short by more than 3,700 housing units overall, including some 1,360 rental units. In Cadillac, vacancy rates are nearly non-existent, and many local workers, from teachers to service staff, cannot afford existing housing options.
It really is an exciting time for Cadillac, as this would be the largest multifamily development that the city perhaps has ever seen. So even with this project alongside some of the other residential projects that are currently in the mix, we're still nowhere near that full number or even halfway there.
It's designed not for luxury, but for workforce and middle-income families, people who currently struggle to find adequate housing in Cadillac.
The plan is to have about 252 new rental units across 11 acres, and it directly addresses the region's growing demand for quality housing. Housing availability is often cited as an economic growth barrier, and so having more housing available is going to help the overall region.
The completion of this project won't close the gap entirely, but delivering over 250 new units would represent one of the largest additions to the region's housing stock in decades. In Wexford County, Tony Lundy, UpNorthLive News.
Well, as we head into our first commercial break, a reminder to those of you joining us online, you do have the opportunity during the commercial break to vote in our question of the day. The QR code will be on your screen in just 1 minute. We'll be back.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. Well, it's time for some weather. We're going to go ahead and send things over to Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. Joe.
Yeah, quiet. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, but we are going to cool down. There is some cooler weather on the way next week, Allie, so we'll get a warm weekend in and then a little cool down.
Finally, some fall weather.
Yeah.
Or what we think of as fall weather here in northern Michigan.
For a couple days, and then it'll warm up again. But we'll at least get some of that in here. You might look at that and say, that's just a blue screen, and it is. But then watch what I can do here. There. Got all the numbers in there. This is the temperature history at Traverse City going back to Monday, the 21st of September. Every day has been at or above normal. That's that last line on the bottom, departure from normal. You can see the temperatures, where they stood, where they averaged out. And so it's been a warm stretch. We'll go to Sault Ste. Marie. We'll do the same thing. And besides that day on the 21st where it was 61 and they were 5 degrees below normal, every day has been above normal since. So pretty warm. In fact, that 77 there on the 29th, that was 15 degrees above average. All right, let's take a look at the jet stream first. This influences what the temperature is going to be. We have a bit of a ridge in place here. You can see Traverse City, Chicago, where the Great Lakes are. Here comes the cooler weather marching in from the west. See this little lobe of cooler weather right there, kind of on top of us? That's next Tuesday. That means maybe some 50s, 60s. But watch after that, and you'll see that in the 7-day forecast. But then here comes the warm weather again into next week. I should say, rather, the following weekend. Not this weekend, but the weekend after. So when I show you the 7-day, it's going to show cooler weather right there. There it is. Look at the warm weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is a pretty dramatic drop in temperature from the 80s down into the 50s. The coolest day will be on Wednesday. But just beyond this forecast, I think things are going to warm right back up again. It is dry. It's a nice clear evening. We'll have a nice sunset out there. But up here, and that's Lake Superior seeing there, northwest of Lake Superior, there are some showers and thunderstorms currently. And that's all tied to a front, which will try to drop in over Lake Superior, and then it'll stall out there. But it will be close enough right there for a few showers in the UP tomorrow afternoon and evening. So you could get a shower or a crack of thunder up that way. That would be tomorrow night, and then that'll head out of here with the dry weekend coming up on Saturday. And the rain amounts are less than impressive up there, maybe a bit near Sault Ste. Marie and around Whitefish Bay, but otherwise not a lot of rain. Well, there's the weekend, near record warmth. So if you like summer weather, well, take advantage. This weekend is going to be just like it. Both Saturday and Sunday will be dry, loads of sunshine, generous amounts, warm temperatures, and then we start cooling off on Monday. Not a lot of rain, though, as we take a look here, Allie. Maybe Monday a shower or two, but we could use probably a little bit more than we have in the forecast here.
All right, well, thank you, Joe. As we head into our next commercial break, Sports Director Harrison Beebe will be joining us after. You're watching Up North Live Unscripted. Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. We're going to go ahead and bring in Sports Director Harrison Beebe now. And Harrison, we've got a pretty big update to share with people. I hear that the Cleveland Guardians were eliminated in Game 3 by the Detroit Tigers, and maybe that would be sad if we were in Ohio, but we're not. We're here in Michigan, and we are very excited about that.
Yeah, Allie, it's been a strange 365 days for this Tigers-Guardians rivalry. A year ago at this time, the Tigers had a miraculous run to get in the postseason and then lost to Cleveland in the American League Divisional Series. This year, Tigers looked like they were going to run away with everything in the American League Central. Guardians pulled off a Tiger comeback past them and won the division. Both teams got in the playoffs, and this series went to a best-of-3 winner-take-all for the series matchup. And what do you know? The Tigers won 2 of 3 in Cleveland after losing 5 of 6 to this team the past 2 weeks to really tank at the end of the regular season. They rebounded. You know, there was the old catchphrase of it's a new season, the playoffs, everybody's 0-0. They really bought into that because this team was gone. This team was out of it. Nobody had faith in this team, including myself. I was ready to see the Guardians maybe sweep them. Tarek Skubal had a great first game in Game 1, but then the Tigers really had to prove it and win another game in this series, and they did that today. They had 4 runs in the 7th inning, and that led to a 6-3 win. The Guardians kind of made it interesting in the 8th, but the Tigers were able to clamp down from there, make it a 6-3 final score. So Detroit moving on to the American League Divisional Series where they lost to Cleveland a year ago. But Cleveland's already gone. That rivalry is now out of the Tigers' forefront and in the rear view. Tigers now focusing on a road trip out west. They'll be playing the Seattle Mariners in the American League Divisional Series beginning Saturday.
All right, Harrison, real quick, what are the Detroit Tigers going to be facing with these Seattle Mariners? Is this going to be kind of an uphill battle for them?
Yeah, Seattle won the American League West, and they had the second best record in the American League. So that was a spot the Tigers held a few weeks ago before their collapse. But what we've seen of this Tiger team the past few days, I think they're capable of going on the road and taking at least one of the first 2 in this series. We'll see. Seattle's good. Joe's projecting a Seattle win. I know he already told me, but the way the Tigers are playing right now, they'd be the right place, the right time to really catch a team off guard.
All right, thank you, Harrison, for that. We're going to go ahead and head into our last commercial break, and it's your last opportunity to vote on our question of the day. How do you access internet service? We'll show you those results when we come back.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Up North Live Unscripted. Let's go over the results for our question of the day. How do you access internet service? 2% still using dial-up, 67% fiber line, satellite 13%, and others 18%. Well, thanks for joining us tonight on Up North Live Unscripted. We'll see you back here tonight at 11.